The Forbidden Experiment. Long ago, on a dead and quiet planet named Valen 9, deep underground, there was a hidden alien lab. No one on the surface knew what was going on inside. This lab was not normal. It was full of secrets. And one big mistake. Inside the lab, scientists worked day and night on something dangerous. They were trying to create a new type of alien weapon. Not a bomb, not a machine, but a living being. That being was a girl. Her name was Zira. Zira looked young, like a teenage girl. Her skin was soft gray with glowing blue lines that pulsed with light. Her eyes were large and green, but always full of sadness. She had sharp teeth, but even sharper was the secret inside her body. Her bite could kill any alien in seconds. The venom in her was a biological weapon. It was made to destroy enemy aliens from the inside. Just one bite, and the target would melt from within. Zira was the only one of her kind, but she was not free. She lived in a metal room with no windows, only walls and machines. She was called Subject 8V by the scientists. No one called her by name. They only came with needles, wires, and questions. She hated them. Sometimes she cried, sometimes she screamed, but no one listened. They only cared about tests and venom. One day, she asked a scientist, "Why did you make me like this?" The scientist laughed coldly. "Because your bite is better than any gun." Zira's heart turned colder after that. One night, everything changed. There was a power failure. The lights blinked, sirens echoed, doors unlocked. The lab was under attack by unknown forces. In the chaos, the guards ran in confusion, and for the first time, Zira's door opened. She didn't wait. Barefoot and silent, she escaped through smoke and fire. She climbed through air vents, ducked under dead guards, and ran across the cold surface of Valen 9. For the first time, she saw stars in the sky. Freedom tasted strange. She didn't know where to go, but she kept running. She found a broken shuttle buried in sand. It still worked, just barely. She didn't care. She flew it far away, to a nearby moon that was cold, dark, and abandoned. No one would look for her there. Or so she thought. Far away, a human spaceship was drifting. Commander Jack Reeve, a strong and quiet man, was fixing his navigation system when he saw a strange moon with crashed signals. His ship needed repairs and the moon was empty on the map. A good place to land. He didn't know someone dangerous had just arrived there. He didn't know Zira was hiding and afraid. On that moon, under a rock cliff, Zira sat quietly. Her arms were scratched. Her clothes were torn. She stared at her hands, the same hands that had killed a dozen test aliens. She was a monster, she thought. That's why they created her. She heard something. Engines. She looked up. A spaceship, sleek and silver, was landing nearby. Panic filled her chest. Were they back for her? Were more scientists coming? She crawled closer and saw a figure step out. Tall, armored, but different. He was not alien. He was human. Zira had never seen a human before. But she had read about them. Weak, emotional, soft, easy to control, but also dangerous when angry. She didn't wait. She ran toward him like a silent shadow. Commander Jack turned and Zira leaped. She sank her teeth deep into his shoulder. He didn't fall. He didn't scream. He didn't melt. He simply looked at her and said, "Ow, that's not nice." Zira froze. What? He should be dying. Her venom had never failed. She pulled back, confused. Jack stared at the small bite mark. "You bit me?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. Zira took a step back, eyes wide. "You, Kier, should be dead." Jack blinked. "Well, I'm not, but you might be crazy." Zira turned and ran, disappearing into the rocks. Jack looked down at his arm. No blood, no burning, just a bite. He smiled a little. What the hell was that? Didn't know it yet, but he had just met the most dangerous girl in the galaxy. And for some reason, he was the only one she couldn't kill. The first encounter. The human didn't die. Zira watched from behind a cold rock wall, her breathing fast and uneven. She had bitten him, hard, deep. The venom should have melted his flesh. His bones should have turned to ash, but he just stood there, alive, talking, confused, not in pain. This had never happened before. Zira had seen her bite kill alien soldiers, lab beasts, even guards wearing full armor. But the human, he just touched his shoulder like it was a bee sting, not like he was dying. Zira's heart raced. What is he? Why didn't it work? She stayed hidden in the shadows, watching the human walk around his ship, calm and unaware of the storm she was feeling inside. He opened a box, took out some tools and started repairing a side panel, like nothing had happened. He should be screaming, she whispered. But he wasn't. Commander Jack Reeve didn't know someone was watching him from behind the rocks. He didn't know her name. He didn't know her venom could kill a dozen aliens with one bite. All he knew was someone just bit him and ran away. He checked his wound again. Nothing serious, no pain, just strange. He sat down on a crate, wiped the sweat off his brow, and muttered to himself, well, that was a first. Then he heard a soft sound, like a whisper of wind but closer. He grabbed his small scanner and pointed it at the rocks nearby. No reading, no signal, nothing. But his gut told him someone was there. Hey, I don't want trouble, Jack called out. But if you're going to bite me again, at least say hello first. Silence. Then a low growl. Jack stood up, his hand near his sidearm, but he didn't draw it. Okay, maybe you're not the talking type. Fine, you stay hidden, I'll stay out here. Sound good? Again, no reply. But deep in the rocks, Zira was shaking, not from fear, from confusion. She had been trained to kill with her bite. Her whole life she was told she was a weapon, nothing more. Everyone feared her. Everyone kept her locked up. Even she feared herself. But this human? He didn't fall. He didn't attack. He joked. No one had ever joked after a bite. Was he broken? Or was he different? Night fell fast on the moon. The sky turned dark blue and the wind grew colder. Jack set up a small heat tent and opened a ration pack. The smell of cooked protein spread into the cold air. Zira smelled it too. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. Her stomach growled. She winced. She didn't want to get close again, but the smell was pulling her. Carefully, she moved closer, staying, behind rocks, crawling low like a hunter. Jack sat near the heat holding a silver fork. Whoever you are, he said loudly, I got extra food. Not poisoned, not a trap, just hungry and tired. No answer. So Jack took a bite and looked into the night sky. I'm not going to chase you. You already bit me once. You win. So, if you want food, it's here. He placed a sealed food pack on a flat stone nearby and walked back to the tent. He didn't look behind. For a few minutes, nothing. Then, a shadow moved. Soft steps on gravel, breathless silence, long fingers, reached forward and took the pack. Then the shadow vanished. Jack smiled inside the tent. Back behind the rocks, Zira opened the pack with shaking hands. It smelled strange, but it was warm and real. She ate fast, like a starving animal, licking her fingers when it was gone. She hadn't had warm food in weeks. Her eyes watered, but not from pain. She didn't know why. The next morning, Jack found new footprints near the stone. Small, light, bare feet. Not human. Alien. She took it, he whispered. And she didn't kill me in my sleep. That's progress. He turned and spoke to the empty air. I'm Jack. I fly ships, fix things, and apparently I'm immune to space vampires. Still, no reply. But from a hidden spot above, Zira was listening. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel like a weapon. She felt curious. Later that day, Jack found a strange mark on his broken ship, a symbol, drawn by hand, alien language. Not a threat, just a message. It meant, "Why didn't you die?" Jack stared at it for a long time. Then he picked up a tool and scratched his own symbol under it. "I don't know. Want to talk?" Two living beings. One was trained to kill, the other was impossible to kill. And neither of them knew it yet. They were about to change each other's lives forever. The chase becomes protection. It started with a chase, but it didn't end the way anyone expected. Zira had lived her whole life being chased, by scientists, by guards, by shadows of fear. So when she saw more ships landing on the moon's surface, her first instinct was to run. But this time, she wasn't the only one being hunted. She wasn't alone. Commander Jack Reeves stood outside his ship, scanning the sky. He saw the sharp V-shapes of alien hunter drones. Not random ships, not traders. These were extraction teams, armed and fast. And they weren't looking for rocks or treasure. They were looking for someone. Jack's mind clicked fast. The bite. The girl. The symbol she drew. They're not here for me, they're here for her. In the rocks above, Zira's green eyes glowed with panic. She recognized the ship design. The same lab logo burned on the side. Her former captors had found her. She had hoped for more time, but it was over. Her breath grew shallow. Her feet wanted to run, but before she could, a voice echoed from below. "Zira," Jack shouted calmly. "If you're still watching, don't run. Not this time." She froze. He remembered my name? No one from the lab ever used her name. "Stay hidden," Jack continued, already heading back inside his ship. "I'll handle this." A soft memory flashed in Zira's head. Her first day in the lab. She had been just a child. Cold. Afraid. One of the guards looked at her through glass and said, "You're not a person. You're a tool." Jack had just called her by name. That changed something inside her. 3 alien hunters stepped onto the ground. Black armor, glowing red visors. One carried a scanner. The other held a stun rifle. "Readings show she's nearby," said one. "Venom levels still traceable in the dust. She's hiding." The second nodded. "Orders are clear. Bring Subject 8V back alive." Jack walked up to them, arms raised. "You're not welcome here," he said. The hunters turned toward him. "Human, leave. This does not concern your kind." "It does now," Jack replied. "She's under my protection." The lead hunter laughed. "She's not someone you can protect. She's not even alive by your standards." Jack smiled. "Funny. She fed herself last night. Laughed at one of my bad jokes too. Sounds pretty alive to me." Without warning, the second hunter fired his stun gun. Zira gasped from above, but Jack didn't fall. He dodged, rolled behind a rock, pulled out a compact blaster, and returned fire. The stun shot exploded against a tree root. Jack's aim hit one hunter in the leg. Sparks flew. The hunters took cover. This wasn't going to be easy. Zira watched in silence. Why is he fighting? He doesn't even know me. He should have run like the others. But Jack didn't run. He fought like someone who didn't care about species. He cared about what was right. Zira's hands trembled. Part of her wanted to stay hidden. The other part, the louder part, wanted to do something she'd never done before. Help. She dropped silently behind the third hunter. He didn't hear her coming. She wrapped her arm around his neck and whispered, "Tell your lab. I'm not going back." Then she bit. His armor melted instantly. He dropped. Jack saw the other two freeze. Did she just... Zira walked forward slowly, venom dripping from her lips, her eyes glowing like fire. She stood beside Jack. "I'm not your test anymore," she growled. The hunters stared, frozen. Even with their weapons, they were scared. "Leave," Jack warned. "Before she bites again." They didn't wait. They ran back to their ship and took off. As the dust settled, Jack turned to Zira. I didn't ask for backup, he joked. You needed it, she replied flatly, but a tiny smile curled on her lips. Jack laughed and dropped his weapon. Fair enough. They stood in silence for a while. Zira looked at him, confused but calm. No one's ever protected me before, she said. Jack shrugged. Well, I figured it's your turn. That night, they sat by the heat tent again. Jack handed her another food pack. Zira ate slower this time. Jack looked at her and asked, Why do you bite? She paused. Because it's all they taught me. Maybe, he said. It's time someone taught you something else. Zira looked at him, uncertain. Like what? Jack smiled. Like how to live. She didn't reply. But for the first time in her life, she didn't feel like a weapon. She felt like someone who could be more. Truth in the venom. Zira sat beside the fire, staring at her hands. The same hands that once ended lives with a single touch were now holding a warm cup of water. Her bite had always been her curse. But now it was a question. Why didn't the human die? Jack sat nearby working on a broken scanner. He noticed her staring, lost in thought. You okay? He asked. Zira didn't look up. Your blood. It didn't burn. My venom didn't hurt you. It's never failed before. Jack paused. He had wondered too. Maybe I'm just special, he joked. But Zira wasn't laughing. She was serious, confused, maybe even scared. No, she said softly. There's something wrong, or something different. I need to know. Later that night, while Jack slept inside the tent, Zira quietly took his DNA scanner from his toolkit. She walked outside under the stars and pricked her own finger. Her glowing blood dropped onto the device's sensor. A quiet beep confirmed. Her venom was active, lethal. Then she did something dangerous. She pricked Jack's blood sample from the bite site she had marked earlier, still saved in the scanner's archive, and compared it. The results made her freeze. Alien cells reacted, violently. They melted and died instantly. But Jack's human cells, they stayed calm, stable, immune. It was like her venom didn't even recognize them. When Jack woke up, he found her staring at the scanner's screen. You couldn't sleep? He asked, rubbing his eyes. She looked up at him, wide-eyed. Your DNA, your body, it's invisible to my venom. Jack raised an eyebrow. That sounds good, right? Zira shook her head. No, it means I wasn't made to kill humans. Only aliens. Jack thought for a moment. Maybe your creators didn't think humans were worth killing. Zira's face darkened. Or maybe I wasn't meant to meet one. They spent the next few hours digging through the old wreckage of an abandoned alien outpost nearby. Broken computers, cracked walls, faded symbols. But then, Zira found a backup drive. Jack helped her power it up. The screen flickered. And then, files appeared. Experiment 8.V results. Target species list. Non-human only. Zira scrolled through it, heart pounding. Her venom had been designed to ignore human DNA completely. Her creators didn't even bother testing her against humans. She was a targeted weapon, built for war. Jack watched her closely. So, you were made to destroy your own kind? Zira nodded, eyes wet. And I did. Hundreds. I thought I had no choice. But now you do, Jack said gently. She looked at him, confused. How can you say that? I bit you. I tested you. I lied. Jack chuckled. You also saved me from getting shot last night. That puts you in my good alien list. She didn't laugh, but she didn't walk away either. Suddenly, the outpost lights flashed red. A signal had been activated. Zira's eyes widened. Someone's listening. Someone just received this data. Jack grabbed his weapon. We need to move. But before they could leave, a robotic voice echoed through the broken walls. Return the specimen. or be neutralized. Zira clenched her fists. She looked at Jack. You can still leave. You're not part of this. Jack stepped forward. You think I've come this far to run now? Zira looked away. They will kill you. Jack smirked. You already tried. Didn't work. This time, she smiled too. As they ran from the outpost, the sky above turned black. New ships entered orbit. Big ones. Zira stopped, panting. They're going to bring everything they have. Jack looked at the clouds. Then we better be somewhere else when they land. As they reached the top of a ridge, Jack turned to Zira. Why are you still standing with me? She looked at him. Because you're the first person who didn't look at me like a weapon. Jack nodded. Then let's make sure they never get the chance to use you like one again. They didn't hold hands. They didn't speak after that. But something powerful had begun. Trust. And that trust would be tested soon. Because the hunters were coming again. And this time, they weren't planning to take her alive. The bond they didn't expect Zira wasn't supposed to feel anything. That's what the scientist told her. Emotions slow you down. Feelings are for weak minds. But now, she felt something strange, something dangerous. She felt safe near Jack. That feeling was never part of the plan. They camped on the edge of a crater, far from the old outpost. Jack was quiet, fixing a cracked energy cell. Zira sat nearby, drawing lines in the dust with her fingers. She wasn't looking at him, but she was listening to every breath he took. Why do you help me? She finally asked. Jack didn't look up. Because someone should. That's not a reason. Jack shrugged. It is for me. For Zira, kindness was confusing. In the lab, help came with pain. Smiles meant more tests. But Jack's help had no conditions. No fear, no wires, only words, and something warmer. As night came, a message buzzed on Jack's ship terminal. He rushed to read it. It was from Earth Command. Report your location. We've picked up movement. Is the alien girl with you? Do not proceed further without orders. We will arrive soon. Zira peeked over his shoulder. Earth knows. About me? Jack frowned. I didn't tell them, but someone did. She stepped back, her voice turning sharp. They'll cage me too, just like the lab. No, Jack said firm. I won't let that happen. You don't have the power to stop them. No, Jack admitted. But I have something they don't. What? He smiled. You. She didn't understand at first. But when Jack closed the terminal without replying and turned to her with that same calm look, the one that never judged her venom, her past, or her teeth, she felt it again, that strange, dangerous warmth. He trusts me. The next morning, Zira made a decision. She walked into Jack's ship, stood in front of the med console and said, I want to test it again. Jack raised an eyebrow. The venom? She nodded. On someone else. Another human? No, she said slowly. On myself. Using a small sample of the weaponized venom, she carefully introduced it into her bloodstream, only a trace amount. Jack was terrified, but Zira remained calm. Minutes passed. She winced, but didn't die. Her own venom didn't attack her body. That's impossible, Jack said. No, she replied. It means I was never a weapon for war. Then what were you? She stared at the scanner, then at Jack. I was a trap, something made to get close to the enemy without looking like one. They both sat in silence, realizing what that meant. She wasn't made to fight. She was made to be trusted, then to kill. But something had gone wrong. Her venom never triggered with Jack. Her instincts didn't treat him as a threat. Maybe your programming is broken, Jack teased. Maybe, she whispered. I just don't want to hurt you. That night, Jack gave her a gift, a silver necklace with a tiny earth charm. Nothing fancy, just metal and memory. Zira looked at it, confused. What is this for? It means you're not a project anymore, Jack said. You're a person. Zira stared at the charm, She had never owned anything before. No nameplate, no toys, no choices. Now she had this. She didn't say thank you, but she wore it and didn't take it off. Suddenly, the ship's alarm beeped. Motion detected. A group of ships was entering orbit, fast and heavy. Jack grabbed his scanner. They're not from the lab. Earth? Zira asked. He nodded. They're here for both of us. Zira stood up, calm but cold. They'll try to take me, study me, lock me in another cage. Jack gripped his weapon. Not while I'm breathing. She looked at him, eyes glowing softly. You're willing to die for me? Jack answered without hesitation. No. I'm willing to live with you, but only if we fight back. Together. At that moment, she touched his hand. Not out of instinct. Not for control. But because she wanted to. And that single touch meant more than any weapon, venom, or DNA test. The monster they built in a lab was beginning to fall for a human. And the human? He didn't fear her anymore. He feared what they'd take from her. The betrayal and the bite Zira thought she finally had a place. Not in a lab, not in a cage, but beside someone who saw her as more than a weapon. But peace doesn't last in space, especially when Earth sends its own monsters. They came without warning. 6 sleek human ships landing like metal beasts around the crater. Their insignia was Earth Command, but the armor they wore was darker, sharper. These weren't scientists. They weren't explorers. They were Containment Division. The team Earth sent when it didn't trust what it found. Jack walked out first, his hands raised. Zira stayed inside the ship, watching from a small screen. Her body tensed. She had seen this before. Calm voices hiding loaded guns. Commander Reeve, the lead officer said, stepping forward. We're here to extract the alien entity. Step aside. She's not an entity, Jack said calmly. She has a name. Her name is Zira. The officer didn't blink. She's classified as unstable and extremely dangerous. You will be removed if you interfere. Jack's jaw tightened. She hasn't hurt anyone. The officer looked at the scanner on his wrist. Our logs say otherwise. 4 dead alien retrieval agents, melted armor, internal corrosion. Jack took a step forward. She only attacked after they tried to take her by force. The officer sighed. We don't care about the aliens. We care that she's not human, and she's too powerful to roam free. Jack's voice dropped. Then you're making a mistake. Inside the ship, Zira watched this. And for the first time in days, she felt something old. Cold fear. They weren't going to ask questions. They were going to take her. Maybe even destroy her. She opened the hatch quietly and stepped. Outside, Jack turned. Zira, stay back. But she walked forward slowly, chin high, venom glowing faintly beneath her skin. The soldiers raised their weapons instantly. Stand down, Jack shouted. Zira looked at them, eyes burning. You want to test me too? Put me in another box? Like the lab did? No one answered. She stepped closer. One soldier moved too fast, flicking a switch, readying a shock dart. Zira reacted in a flash, a hiss, a jump, and a bite. The soldier screamed, dropped. His body went stiff. Everyone froze, even Jack. Because, this time, the venom worked. Zira! Jack shouted, rushing to her side. What did you do? Her face was pale. Her hands shook. I didn't mean to. He was going to shoot. I just reacted. Jack looked down at the soldier. He was dead. Burned from the inside. Zira backed away. Why did it work this time? He was human. Jack looked at her, confused. What? She stared at her hands. You're human. I bit you. Nothing happened. Jack's heart dropped. You said I was immune. Zira's voice cracked. Maybe not immune. Maybe I chose not to kill you. The words hung in the air like a storm cloud. The soldiers didn't fire. They were watching too, silent, stunned. Zira looked at Jack, tears starting to gather. I didn't want this, Jack whispered. I know. But the lead officer raised his gun again. She's unstable. Dangerous. You see that now, Commander? Jack stepped between them. No, I see someone who's been hunted all her life. Someone who needs protection, not prison. She just killed one of ours, the officer snapped. Jack stood firm. You gave her no choice. The soldiers closed in. Jack turned to Zira. If you run now, they'll chase you forever. She nodded. Then don't let them take me. I won't. With a sudden blast of smoke from the ship's defense grid, everything turned into chaos. Jack grabbed Zira's hand and they sprinted into the canyon behind the camp. Gunfire echoed. But the Earth soldiers couldn't keep up. Not with the terrain. Not with Zira's speed. They vanished into the cliffs. Hours later, Jack sat beside a small stream bleeding slightly from a shoulder scrape. Zira cleaned the wound silently. I bit someone, she whispered, her voice hollow. I know. I didn't want to. I know. Then she looked up, eyes red. Why didn't I?
Kill you?
Jack met her gaze. Maybe, because deep down you didn't want to lose me. Zira blinked, unsure what to say. Jack touched her hand. Whatever this thing is between us, it's real. You're not a weapon anymore. She nodded. Tears, falling. But deep in the stars above, Earth Command was watching. And they were preparing for war. Because they believed they had lost control. But what they didn't know was, Zira was finally in control of herself. And she wasn't afraid to fight back. The final revelation, the girl who was made to kill, had finally learned to choose. And now she had chosen war. But not the kind with blood and fire. This time, Zira would fight for something no scientist could measure, her own freedom. High, above the moon, Earth Command's warships hovered like angry giants. Orders had been sent to every nearby base. Retrieve the alien. Eliminate the human if he resists. Specimen 8V must not fall into enemy hands. Her blood is now considered high-value biological property. To them, Zira was not a person. She was a product. Down on the canyon floor, Zira and Jack sat near a small ridge, surrounded by wind and silence. They hadn't spoken in hours. Both were thinking the same thing. This is the end, unless they made it something else. Zira finally broke the silence. I know what I am now. Jack looked up from his half-broken tablet. A good person with scary teeth? She didn't smile. I'm a trap, built to kill, sent to infiltrate alien ranks, programmed to get close, then destroy. That's why I was immune to guilt. Why I was good at pretending. Jack nodded slowly. And yet, here you are, not pretending. Zira looked at him, her voice shaky. When I bit you and nothing happened, I thought it was science. But now, I understand. I didn't want to hurt you. I held it back. Jack leaned closer. So the venom listens to your heart? Zira placed her hand on her chest. Maybe for the first time. I have one. As the warships began their descent, Jack stood and grabbed his old comms device. He wasn't going to run. Not this time. He opened a channel directly to Earth Command. This is Commander Jack Reeve. You're making a mistake. Static. Then a cold voice replied. Commander, step away from the specimen. This is your last warning. She's not a specimen, Jack said firmly. She's a sentient being. She's made her own choices. She deserves to live free. Your feelings have compromised you, Commander. Good, Jack said. Because feelings are what make us human. He cut the channel. The sky turned red as dropships approached. Zira's hand brushed his. We can't win this fight, Jack. Then we make sure they don't either. She looked at him, surprised. How? Jack pointed to her chest. You said your venom responds to emotion. So what happens if you truly believe you're not a weapon anymore? Zira was silent. Moments later, the ground shook. Earth soldiers surrounded them. Guns raised, drones buzzing overhead. The lead officer spoke through a helmet speaker. Subject 8V, surrender now, or we will open fire. Jack stepped forward. She is not your subject. But Zira raised her hand to stop him. She stepped forward, alone, eyes glowing, face calm, arms wide. "If I am your weapon," she said loud and clear, "then why can't any of you control me?" The soldiers hesitated. She walked closer. "If I am only a killer, then why haven't I killed him?" She pointed to Jack. "Why did I save him? Why did I run from your lab, your tests, your numbers?" She turned slowly, voice rising. "Because I'm not yours anymore. And I never was." Silence. Then one soldier fired a shot, but nothing hit. Zira didn't even flinch. The bullet had melted mid-air. The venom in her skin was now active, but only around her. Controlled, flowing, listening to her will. Jack smiled. "You're doing." And Zira looked down at her hands. "I'm choosing." The lead officer stepped back, confused. "This isn't possible." Jack grinned. "You built a weapon, but she became a person." The officer snarled. "She belongs to Earth." Zira stepped forward. "No," she said. "I belong to no one." Suddenly, the Earth soldiers' tech systems began to fail, hacked from within. An anonymous signal had broken their firewall. A message flashed on every screen. "Subject 8V is not property. She is protected under intergalactic sentience rights. You fire, you violate galactic law." Zira blinked. "Who did that?" Jack looked up. A small, unmarked ship hovered above, a message coming through. An alien voice, kind and wise, spoke. "We heard your scream in the stars, and we came to listen." The Earth soldiers were forced to retreat. Orders changed. Too much political risk. Too many eyes watching. And just like that, the war ended, without a single death. Hours later, Zira stood by Jack's ship. He offered her the pilot seat. She raised an eyebrow. "You trust me with flying?" "I trust you with a lot more than that." She sat down slowly, carefully. As the stars opened before them, Zira whispered something she had never said out loud. "I want to live." Jack smiled. "Then let's fly toward life." And with that, the human and the girl with the venom, the weapon who became a woman, disappeared into the stars, not as fugitives but as free souls.